Hey, good evening, and happy Friday. Happy Friday. I am Trenda Hackett, your web CPA. It's been an amazing day. I took off some time today to go and attend a women's business conference. Just spent the day with some amazing women, got some amazing information. Didn't get to spend much time in the clinic, but was thinking about you all day. And I did tell you on the last live that I did that I will be coming back to share with you a great question that I always get in the clinic, a great question that somebody submitted. And I'm quite sure I think this will help you, especially if you are married. So we're going to talk about our tax question of the day. So here again, I'm Trenda Hackett, your web CPA. Hopefully I'm catching you either in the car on the way home, or you've made it home, or you're somewhere where you can watch this live video. And I always want to encourage you all to don't keep this information to yourself. Always having in mind to share with somebody, because this may help somebody. I don't know if you're like me. I always look for ways how I can help somebody, and everybody always needs help, and it doesn't take a whole lot to help somebody. It could be something as simple as sharing a video, just sharing some information that you have received. So that's what I want you to be intentional about doing. And as always, please, if you have tax questions, if you need help, you can always visit our website at www.virtualtaxclinic.com. Hit the Get Started button and you'll reach our contact page, and you can put that information in there. So on to the tax question of the day. And I want to caution you that this question is going to be a two-part question. So part one, I'm going to answer on this video. Part two, I'll come back on tomorrow. So I get a question in the clinic that my spouse, and I'm not going to say husband or wife. It could be the husband, it could be the wife. But my spouse owes either child support, they owe back taxes on IRS, or they owe a student loan, or they owe maybe a state tax debt, or another federal tax debt. My spouse owes this debt, and this is before we file. I think we're going to be due a refund. And the question I get is, do we have to file together? So the gist of the question is, you got married individuals asking a question, do we have to file together? And a lot of times the couples or married people don't want to file together because one spouse may owe a debt, and especially if they're getting a refund, they're saying, you know what, let me just go on my own so the IRS won't touch the refund. So to answer the question is, do you have to file together? And the answer to that question is no. You do not have to file a joint return. Listen to what I said. You don't have to. Now, my next response, I'm going to give you some information to tell you what your options are if you choose not to file together, and what are the downfalls and the pitfalls of not filing together. I'm also going to share with you that there's a way around the IRS taking your part of the refund when you file joint with your spouse. Okay, so do married people have to file together? The answer is no. So here's the thing. The IRS has several different filing statuses. And they're single. Of course, a married person cannot file single because either you're single or you're married. So you can't file single. You have married filing joint. Married filing joint, that's for married people that choose to file the tax return together. So let me say this. If you file jointly, you actually pay less tax. Now, I don't need to get into the mechanics of that. You can go and find an IRS tax table, and you can look at the different amounts, and you look at the married filing joint filing status, look under the column for married filing separate. You'll see the amounts are much different. So I'm always going to say, I'm always an advocate of, if you're married, you want to file joint because that's you in kind of like a lower tax bracket. But however, the IRS give married people another option. You can file what's called married filing separately. Married filing separately. This is where you and your spouse, you can each file your own separate tax return. You'll check the box married filing separately. However, there are some stipulations. You don't get as many deductions. They call that the marriage penalty when you file married filing separately, because quite naturally the government wants married people to file a joint return. However, you are given options. Also, married people in some circumstances can file head of household when there are children involved, especially if you and your spouse were separated during the last half of the year. I won't get deep into that, but I wanted to answer the question, do you have to file together with your spouse? No, but here's your option. Your option is to file together, married filing joint. That is the best option if you want to pay less taxes. However, you can file what's called married filing separately, and you're going to pay more taxes at that filing status level, but that option is available. And here again, you can file head of household if you and your spouse has been apart in the last 6 months of the tax year and there are children involved and you have provided a household over 6 months in the year for those children. So that's the answer to that question. Now, this is the question I get like before the person files. So here's what I would recommend to you. If you're concerned about filing a joint return, a husband and wife filing a joint return because one spouse owes a debt and you think you're going to get a refund and think the IRS may take that refund, you can know before you file. You can check before you file. And you can play this video back or get you something to write with. Here's your action item for today. Before you file a tax return, and this is regardless of if you're married or whatever your filing status is, if you want to know if the IRS is going to take your refund due to a debt that you wasn't aware that you owed, you can check before you file. There's a phone number I'm going to give you. It's called the Bureau of Fiscal Services. And you want to call this number. It's 1-800-304-3107. Here again, if you want to check to see if the IRS is going to take your tax refund, you can check before you file. 1-800-304-3107. Now, I would encourage you, both husband and wife, check under both of your numbers, under both of your Social Security numbers. Now, let's say you call that number and you do see where one of you owe maybe student loan. Student loan said, IRS says, student loan has contacted us and they're going to take the money. The IRS says child support has contacted us and we're going to take the money. So let's say if you find that still does not mean you have to file separately from your spouse. There's ways around that. The IRS has something called an injured spouse. An injured spouse. And an injured spouse is in those situations where you have married individuals and you may have one spouse that owe a debt and the other spouse don't owe it and they're getting a refund. And instead of taking the entire refund, there's a form 8379 that you can either attach to the tax return, your joint tax return. So what I'm saying is it's best for you to file with your spouse. It's best for you to file together. But you can attach that form to your tax return. And what the IRS will do is instead of taking that entire refund, they will reallocate or recalculate and determine the part of the injured spouse, the person that don't owe. They'll determine their part of the refund. And they'll only take the part of the refund of the person that owes, and they'll send that, and they'll send you, the injured spouse, the one that don't owe the debt, they'll send you your share of the refund. Now, that is before you file. You know, that's if you, it's before you file, you're checking into things, and you're saying, let me see, what's the best way. And so what I'm saying is, you should still file joint because that's going to save you money. In the end, it's going to save you money. You pay less taxes when you file joint. But if you and a husband, you both file separate returns, the tax rate for married filing separate is much higher, much higher. So a lot of times, a lot of people don't realize that, the automatic response is, I'm just not going to file together. I don't want them touching nothing. This is my refund. But the IRS has a way around that. And here again, it's the form 8379, injured spouse. Now, you want to include that with your joint tax return, because the whole purpose of that form is to say these two individuals has filed a joint tax return, and the refund, all of it, some part of it belongs to one spouse, another part may belong to another spouse, but one spouse has this debt. It's not fair to take the whole thing and pay that whole debt. So the IRS has a way around that. So I want to recap. So this is before you file the tax return. If you know that the IRS is in the case of married people, and you're trying to decide, do you file jointly or do you file together? And this is before you file. Tomorrow, I'm going to come back on and talk about if you have already filed and the IRS took the full refund. I'll tell you how you can possibly get that back. But this live tonight is before you file. Married individuals, before you file, number one, what do you want to do? You want to call this number, 1-800-304-3107, and check. Because you never know. A lot of times, you don't know you owe a debt. You probably didn't realize it. But guess what? The government is going to know. So I would encourage all of you, whether you're married, single, or what have you, do that. Do your due diligence before you file so that you're not caught off guard. You're sitting here waiting on this refund and you find out that the IRS took it and sent it to the student loan, or the IRS took it for some back taxes that you owe that you wasn't even aware of. So do your due diligence and check ahead. Call that number at 1-800-304-3107. In the case of married individuals, you want to call and put each one of your social security numbers in. If you find out that the IRS is going to take the refund, or you owe a debt and IRS is going to take the refund, you have, I would recommend, first of all, if you're not aware of the debt, why don't you call that agency? Find out, if it's student loans, call the student loan and say, hey, I see you're going to be taking my refund, and talk to them and find out why. It could be a mistake or it could not be, but that's an option to get that together before you file. Or if they are going to take it, you can still file a joint return with your spouse and save you some money. That married filing separate is, like I said, you're penalized for filing separately. And head of household is only available to married individuals if you were not together, you were living apart the last half of the year. And of course, with head of household, in order to file head of household, you have to provide a household for a dependent more than 6 over the half of the year. So just understand that there are options, but I want to advocate for the option that will keep dollars in your pocket, especially in the case of married people. Understand you have the form 8379, injured spouse, that can be attached to your tax return before you file. So that's all I'm going to have for this evening. I'm going to come back tomorrow and talk about, there may be some of you wasn't aware of the information I just shared with you. You wasn't aware that you could call and check, or you have already filed and they've taken the refund and you think that it's all over. No, all is not lost, because you could still file that form 8379, injured spouse, after they have taken it, and you can have the IRS to reallocate it to send you your share of the refund. So here again, I'm Trenda Hackett. I'm your Web CPA with the Web CPA Virtual Tax Clinic. And as I told you all before, I've spent an amazing time in a women's business conference today. And there was one of the action items that one of the speakers she shared that she wanted everybody to do. And I'm going to share this action item with you. It may be a little bit off the tax, but it'll ultimately end up resulting in a tax benefit for you. So your action item is to go through your closet. You can go through your closet either this weekend or sometime. Now, the speaker challenged us to go through the closet and take out 10 things and donate them, give them away. She was speaking in terms of clothes. Those clothes that you know you're not going to wear, they may be outdated, or they're just in your closet. So go through your closet, and if you don't have time, you can just go with 10. Take out 10 items, clothing items, and donate them. You can donate them to the Salvation Army, Goodwill. I know in our area we have the clothing donation pods where they have somebody sitting up there, and you can bring your clothes and shoes and whatever and donate it. But guess what I want you to do? When you donate that, they should give you a receipt. And guess what? You could possibly write that off on your taxes, because did you know that you can write off your non-cash charitable donations? So that's your action item. And when you do that, I want you to, when you do make your donation, do me a favor. Take a picture of your receipts and put it in the comments and post it. Or just so we could just see that you're getting your receipts. And I want you to keep your receipt for when you do your taxes for 2020, which you'll do 2020 taxes next year. And just be sure to keep that receipt. All right. If there's nothing else that I have for today, I'm going to check out of here. And I pray you have a wonderful Friday evening. You deserve it from the long week. So take some time to relax. And here again, share this video with somebody else. You may have married friends, or you know a married couple who have this same question. Don't keep this information to yourself. Give people your best. Give people your best. You believe in them. The B is for believe in them. Encourage them. Share with them. And teach them. Teach them. Teach them some of the stuff that you know that they don't know. So until I come back on tomorrow, you be amazing as you always are. And if you need tax help, you can get in contact with us by visiting www.virtualtaxclinic.com. Hit the Get Started button and answer those questions. Hit submit. We will give you a response in 24 to 48 hours with the link to schedule an appointment in the clinic. So let's be very serious about your tax help. Have an amazing evening. I'm checking out. I'll chat with you later. Bye-bye.